Hey everyone, my name is Nathan Pay and welcome to another episode of Blu Ocean Crypto. Today we're going to take a deep dive into Avalon's Lite Paper. Now, I've mentioned this in some of my other videos, but I think this game is one of the highest potential games in the entire Web3 industry for a lot of different reasons. And I want to take my time going through all of this with you guys so that you have a full understanding of what's going on here. There's a lot to cover, so I want to jump right into it. I will skip some parts just for the sake of speed and getting this video not to be too long, but it's not going to be any of the stuff that really helps you understand how the game works. So jumping right into it, there's an open alpha going on right now. There's a 7-day pass and a 30-day pass. The difference between them is that the 7-day pass doesn't allow you to earn the NFTs. The 30-day pass does. That's the main difference, worth every penny, because you can collect those NFTs and even resell them to recoup the cost of your pass, and then quite a bit. So they did have a whole bunch of these different passes going on in the past. Really, the easiest thing to understand right now is just there's currently a 7-day and a 30-day, but there was lots of other ones that they had done prior, right? You can go through and get the details here, but there's no need to kind of deep dive into all this. The lore is what I'm going to skip because it would just be me reading you a story. I really love this. I think this is probably one of my favorite parts of the game, is how they're tying the Knights Templar history into here. A lot of the hidden history or recently discovered truths about this. Not stuff you're going to find on Discovery or History Channel, so to speak. I mean, you guys are even going to see, Freddie Silva is working with them. And he's someone I've followed for many, many years. So I definitely highly recommend you read the lore if you're into that. But let's just kind of skip right past it. We're going to go to the vision and story behind the Kingdoms of Avalon. So Danu Games, they're the studio that's created this. They brought this massive fantasy multiplayer game called Avalon, where they built a fantasy verse, melded with the blockchain gaming community. This resulted in a world-class gaming experience inspired by titles like Assassin's Creed and the team-building spirit of Destiny. So they took a lot of inspiration from different titles to kind of formulate this, and man, have they done a good job even in the alpha. So the first kingdom they talk about you encountering has been stylized, handcrafted, and painted by incredible artists who have spent years pouring their hearts into creating a magnificently detailed environment. It is. That's one thing that's blown me away. Like, I love just exploring the game, and I'm not huge into that generally. I'm very strategic and goal-oriented, but the more that I've explored, the more beauty I've really found. And like I said, it's only in alpha. There's so much more for it to go. And they talk about how it's noteworthy that the environment is not AI generated or simply multiplied by computer software. Every NFT you receive will be hand painted and individually assembled. That's amazing. We hope you'll appreciate the superb level of detail and quality of the environments and characters that Avalon deliver. I know I have. So it's talking about how it's built in 4.27 and it's migrating to 5. And I know there's like 5.3 now, and so also there's going to be the possibility of launching on PlayStation 5. We're going to cover some of that later. They talk about the magic within, right? So they're relying on the brightest and most talented minds in the gaming industry to craft a truly magical story. This is awesome, starting with the author of Game of Thrones, the game, and voiceover actors from world-renowned movies such as The Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones. This is cool. Gameplay, they're talking about players have the choice to play as a single-player character or join multiplayer raids, teaming up to 6 players. There's going to be multiple types of in-game NFTs, characters, lands, buildings, ships, and raids. And of course, they're mentioning the Unreal 5 thing. Community-driven game design. This is something that's really cool. They're taking feedback from people. They're doing, like, here's a good example. When you buy a home in Avalon, sometimes they'll just do something a little special for you. They'll add like a painting or maybe some detail outside, and they really just make you feel like they care about the fact you own an asset within their game by doing these small little nuanced things. Now obviously there's not a guarantee they're going to do that for everybody, but it's just a great example of something that I've kind of noticed was this extra nice touch. They also talk about how they're going to introduce a scholarship program for players who are interested in playing Avalon in an upcoming limited free-to-play browser version. Community votes will be taken before any major votes, and guilds will be able to custom build their kingdoms. That's awesome. We've also been able to have a part in that. We, Blu Ocean Games Guild, have a place called Oceanheim where we got to create the name and the lore, and just to feel like we have this part of the entire game is a feeling I've never got to experience before. and it really makes me feel much more vested in the environment, in what's going on in this project. Community select a kingdom leader will have a place at the round table to cast votes for future expansion and assisting in the ruling of kingdoms, which is awesome. But let's get to the fun stuff. Talking about the gameplay, and there's quite a bit to go through here, so let's jump into it. The kingdoms. So they talk about how it consists of 12 kingdoms, each with its own independent network of online servers. Yes, there will be a mythical round table as well of 12 knights and a king if they opt to have a monarch in the future. So the first edition of the game, each kingdom is going to have a main castle, including a town inside the castle walls, 20 villages, 10 towns, 7 harbors. Wow, right? I mean, the alpha right now is like one of these with 1 harbor. And to see the scope of what they're doing here is incredible. They also talk about virtually endless number of dungeons. Players will be able to freely move between kingdoms upon reaching level 20 or simply by owning NFT buildings or lands in one of the kingdoms. Players will be able to board ships and travel the seas in search of the legendary Avalon Island or engage in epic naval battles. Wait, what? Naval battles? Yes, remember? Inspired by Assassin's Creed, Destiny. I mean, they really want to go, they want to bring this to a whole different level for the genre and have this immersive, engaging experience. It's not going to be just World of Warcraft hack and slash. We're talking about naval battles, all kinds of amazing things here. The multiplayer raids will be limited to 6 characters and will consist of 4 classes. So actually there's really kind of 5. You've got the ranged, which is like Elven Knights and Robin, the Elven Knight and Robin of Sherwood. Those are 2 different classes. Tanks is the Viking of Water Clan and the Knights of King Arthur. I'm definitely going to be playing the Knight of King Arthur. Healer, you've got the Druids of Avalon, and there's actually a couple different types of Druids. And then Herne the Hunter. Mages are Merlin, the Grand Inquisitor, and the Templar Grand Master. I'm playing the Templar Grand Master right now in the alpha. It's definitely my favorite class. I absolutely love it. But I am more of a tank kind of guy. I used to be a main tank in World of Warcraft, so that's why I'm going to go for the Knight of King Arthur. And then you've got a Raider, which is a Viking of Horse Clan. It's kind of like a Raider team party support class. It's really cool. They talk about raid bonus. Presence of an Inquisitor on the team will allow access to a raid with only 5 players, so we'll be able to do kind of increase the difficulty. And everyone will get an additional 16 bonus reward. Now, there's going to be high demand for these Inquisitors being in raids, obviously, right? So let's talk about the assets. So there's characters, right? Like I told you, and we covered a little bit before. Right now, there's currently the Inquisitor, the Templar, and then I think you can get the Knight as well, but they don't fully have all of them available. That's something that's being developed, but we know that these characters are going to be NFTs. The buildings, this is amazing. We've got quite a few ourselves. Talk about houses, huts, docks, storages, cantinas, inns, mills, forages, and stables are available for active income generation. These lucrative assets enable players to build structures in their desired community of choice. Even just owning a home is a great way to start. But if you want to be a business owner and you want some passive income, that's the way to go. Forge is a great example, right, that they're showing here. People need to repair their items. Right now, it's actually the highest demanding or most in-demand business that there is, because people are constantly doing raids and constantly, wearing down the durability of their items. But there's a need for mills, because mills make food. Food is what heals you, so there's a demand for that. Stables, people need to buy horses, so there's a demand for that so that they can travel around better. It's really amazing how they've done this. I feel like this is what I've been looking for as an MMO in blockchain since I started understanding what Web3 gaming was. I knew MMO as a genre would be amazing for this, but of course, the difficulty and scope of creating that, I knew not just any game studio could take on. Talk about the lands, right? So this is villages, towns, harbors, graveyards, and castles. There's different passive or active income generating opportunities where owners can collect tax from players who build structures on their land or collect fees for providing services such as respawning or transportation. This is really cool. So here's where they're talking about the Grand Templar Chapel and the 25 land plots assigned to it. Now, we also own a temple in Oceanheim. It's definitely the most majestic building in the entire area, and that was something that we were really excited about having a piece of, because there's only that one temple in that entire region, which is pretty amazing. So moving on to gameplay, chapter 1, they talk about starting out. You're going to have to start at the bottom and level up. Of course, that's how this works. Not all characters are going to be NFTs. There will be basic characters free to use, and then there's Game Pass holders. New areas of the kingdom will unlock when quests or development tasks are complete. Makes sense, right? Do some quests, unlock new areas. Awesome. More quests can be completed in single-player mode. Rewards are limited and will include leveling up, resource allocation, and lower-level collectible NFTs. So there's even going to be NFTs that we're going to be able to get from doing some of these quests. So NFT characters such as the Mythic Grand Inquisitor showcased below will be among the most profitable asset that can participate in weekly as well as monthly raids with exciting rewards and significant bonuses. Important to note. Free-to-play characters can only participate in daily quests and earn a very limited number of tokens. The following is an example of their free-to-play non-NFT character, the Elven Archer, also known as the Elven Knight. Raids. All raids require a team of 5 to 6 players, and remember the 5 is because if you have an Inquisitor. Raids are reserved for the most experienced and well-equipped players who own NFT characters. Strong teams are formed to create effective strategies, and in-game rewards are NFTs, resources, Matic, or even wax. That's awesome. Then they go into landlords. I really like how they broke this down. Land and building owners can earn passive and active income. For example, an automated tax collection system enables landlords to earn on local area transactions. Building owners can profit from housing guests, breeding horses, selling goods, creating NFTs, etc. And there are 3 ways to earn cryptocurrency in the game. Collect sales tax by owning in-game land, finish quests or multiplayer raids to receive tokens or rare NFTs, and own manufacturing or hospitality buildings to trade goods and craft rare NFTs. The economy here is just so amazing. The opportunity to really gamify this and figure out best ways for you to earn. I mean, I can't say enough good things about this project, guys. I'm really stoked that we're involved in this, and I'm very stoked that I get to go through this with you here, especially if this is the first time you've heard it. So the detailed land tax systems and specifics of the Kingdom economy will be described in upcoming versions of the white paper. And here's an example of the windmill. So going into chapter 2, I'm going to skip through this a bit because it's a lot to cover, but there's some good things here. So they do talk about how there's going to be, PvP. There's going to be quests that involve solving puzzles, riddles, finding hidden objectives. There's going to be valuable chests that appear at random, which can include all kinds of things to help you craft tools or magic potions or simply upgrade your character or weapon. They're talking about how the health and energy of your character can be replenished by harvesting grains, finding wild berries, or searching for honey. You basically take these items and then bring them to the mill and then create different types of bread. There could be other use cases for them too. They also talk about how there's like the deep dark corners of Avalon. There's like spiders that you're going to have to fight and like just lots of interesting enemies all over the place. You're also going to be able to obtain up to 8 unique skills as you progress through the game. You're going to be able to participate in weekly tournaments. They talk about a crystal and ore mining system. I mean, man, they're just layering this on, aren't they? You're going to be able to explore vast mountainous areas in search of secret riches or enemy camps to raid. Also, there's dark caves with extremely rare treasures such as dragon egg NFTs. Oh, yeah, we haven't got to that yet, guys. You can ride dragons in this game. Yeah. Players can choose between the fantasy storyline or educational, which is really cool. There's a play to learn aspect here. There's item crafting. Teamwork's going to be really important. Now they talk about how it can be explored on foot, but obviously you can get, horses to help with that. But dragons, right? Next, it was just coming up when I mentioned it. Horses, dragons, and sea mounts will be introduced at various intervals within sea mounts. Like, oh, love that. There's teleportation portals. So actually you can own a portal. That is a source of business revenue. When people pay to teleport somewhere, you as the business owner get to keep that AVAL that they spent. And then they talk about owning mythical characters and buildings will benefit from NFT customization, branding, and labeling advantages. This is really cool for guilds, for example. So just kind of moving along to characters, abilities, and specs. This is awesome. This has to be expanded a little bit, but the main thing is there's 6 main characters. You've got like a Viking Berserker, you've got a Viking Raider, there's a Druid, Inquisitor, the Elven Knight, and then the Templar. Now, the Berserker is kind of like the tank right now. The Raider is very team support oriented. The Druid is the healer, obviously. The Inquisitor is like the sorcerer, huge DPS. The Elven Knight is the ranged character, but can kind of fill a couple other roles. And then the Templar is kind of a mixture. He's like a caster and a physical person, and kind of tank as well. He's kind of like a hybrid. Templar is currently my favorite right now. And then it goes into all these different skills. I'll do a deep dive on all the characters at a later time. There's also a lot of development that's being done here. The characters are being refined more, but I just kind of gave you guys the general synopsis of what all the characters do. And of course, these skills kind of just go into those details of that a little bit. Every character does get a kick right now. You know, there's kind of a shared skill, which is a kick as well, which is good to mention. Now, the dragons. Here's what I was excited about getting to. So they talk about how there's different types. So the fire dragon is the largest in size, but understandably the slowest in speed. Awesome. Legend has it that a few fire dragon eggs rest in the deepest caves of Volcania. So interesting. Like, it's good to go through all this in the lore because it's going to give you an advantage in the game when you understand these little nuances. There's also water dragons. I mean, look at this picture here. The mythical Templar and an ice dragon. I mean, I love that. So, champions of underwater ocean environments, water dragons are known for the ability to dive in, swim, and stay submerged in water for extended periods of time. Makes them the most desirable ride to explore underwater caves and sinkholes. You give me water exploration in an MMO and I'm in love. I mean, that's just going to be insane. So they talk about how legend has it that the shores of a remote island in Avalon hosts a few water dragon eggs. So, good to know. Then there's, you know, so the water dragon and then the ice dragon. Now, I talked about how the photo here was featuring the ice dragon, but would have been cool to see a water dragon picture here. Maybe they can add that in at some point. The ice dragons are a little different than the water ones, obviously, because they're the most deadliest and feared in the Kingdom of Avalon. Although the smallest in size, it makes up for it in night vision and speed. Its icy breath is able to freeze an entire army of enemies in the blink of an eye. This makes the ice dragon the hardest to kill. And ice dragon eggs can possibly be found on the bottom of a remote glacier lake or deep in the ice caps of the highest mountain on Avalon. Good to know. So just moving along to raids. So this is the hardest but fastest way to earn NFT and coins. 5 to 6 players. You know, there's rankings with it. There's raid tournaments, multi-chain rewards, which is awesome. They kind of show here how it breaks down, like a raid winner, what you're going to get. There's the daily opportunity, 2nd through 6th place. Different types of NFTs found within these rewards, like depending on the raid location, the weekly raid random NFT reward, and then the daily random NFT reward. Moving over to minimal hardware specs, this is pretty great. It's a GeForce 1060 or better. Obviously, the better computer have the more stunning it looks, but I like that they haven't really locked everybody out because it's just, you know, 4 high-end computers, and UE5 is obviously going to help with this too. So going a little bit more into the land and buildings, you know, land generates value in the game in a variety of ways, including a taxation mechanism, which we talked about. Castles and towns, and they even mentioned this here, will be the hubs for people and guilds who are visiting, you know, sites for countless players, generating considerable amounts of value and activity. So obviously, these are going to be highly coveted things to own when they're NFT assets. They also talk about how when the gates of Avalon open, each land NFT owner will be able to pick their land in a first-come, first-served manner. Those who bought their lands first and held on to it will be the first to choose. This is a good reason to be picking up assets. Talks about huts, homes, and farms. This is really cool. So there's even going to be an option to view the interior in VR, and there's different styles available. They also talk about how there's a storage chest. So you get a chest in your home that you can go store stuff, hugely beneficial if your inventory is overflowing. They talk about here how there's different resources provided inside, so you can just go into your home and you're going to be able to pick up some of these resources, and then also the storage size. They also talk about how they're offering a meeting room for a small guild or team. Especially cool to view through the VR. The home doors can only be opened by its owners. You can even tell who you can add players' names to a part in your chest right now. I don't know if this is going to be the same in the beta, to give them access to your home. You can say allow this person to come in, or, you know, all these members of my guild can come in and collect those resources, for example, which is really neat. And just look how beautiful that home is, filled with flowers right there. And actually my home in Oceanheim, I have the large home, it's also filled with all these flowers, which is really great. Talking about farms, there's going to be animals and animal breeding. I mean, guys, we just keep adding layers here. Dragons, underwater, mass exploration, 12 kingdoms. Now there's farms with animals and animal breeding. This is something I'm really excited for. I like farming. They say now not all farm animals can be tamed. All farm animals can be tamed, opening up opportunity for breeding and creating a thriving ecosystem. There's a hen, rooster, chick, pig, swine, and piglet. Obviously, there's more I can go into here with this. There's going to be different nuances and benefits to having them and how you're going to be able to feed them and take care of them. I'm really excited for this. Moving on to temples and villages, right? So we talked a little bit about the temple before and how there's kind of one per zone, you know, and this is really one of the biggest, it is the biggest asset, I guess you could say. Also that the temple owner will receive an NFT drop in the form of one random home or hut at the end of each month. The drops will be limited to 24 months. So that means you buy a temple, you're getting 24 homes. This is incredible. You're literally passively generating these NFTs, which are quite valuable. And it talks about how castle, as long as the castle NFT located on the Avalon Island does not have an owner, there will be an additional 1.5 bonus tax allocated to the temple at that time. That's really neat. You can see here the temple, and of course it's massive when you're in the game. I talk about village NFT deeds, which grant ownership of one complete village system, including custom layout placement. The first 3 sold temple buildings and the first sold 6 villages have a unique feature. That's really cool. But here's a breakdown of the perks and buildings included with the village system. So you get the taxation mechanism, home rental mechanism, set of NFT huts. There's NFT forge, NFT mill and crop fields, NFT stable, NFT portal, NFT graveyard, NFT cooking pots, NFT temple. There's the custom village layout, the special props and banners, the guided onboarding, the custom stable mount. I mean, wow, right? And we've got quite a bit of ways to go here. Okay, before we move on to Castles and Kingdoms, we're going to call it here. We're going to have to do a part 2. There's still so much awesome information for us to cover. We just don't want this to be a 45-minute video. But I want to say special thanks to everyone who subscribed to the channel. It really makes a big difference to us. We really appreciate it. It's helping out quite a bit. And also thanks for liking the videos. It's definitely helping the YouTube algorithm get this out to many more people. And I look forward to seeing you guys in part 2 of this video, where we continue to go through all the amazing things that Avalon has in their light paper. Like I mentioned, this is one of the biggest potential games in Web3, in my opinion. I mean, it's an MMO, and I'm sure if you guys made it this far in the video, you can understand the scope we're looking at here. So we'll see you guys all in part 2 coming up soon. Take care. Cheers.